Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Real people doing real deals in real estate and no fake gurus allowed. We bring you the best and the most real estate investors in the space. They'll be showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate investing. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. It's the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, I have my great friend, Mr. Viktor Arbitrage. Arbitrage, right? Did I get it right?
That's right.
All right, Arbitrage, guys. I actually asked him, hey, how do you pronounce your last name? Because it's complicated. But I got a different logo this time because this guy is a wholesaler, and he's part of the cartel on Investor Lift, which, by the way, is the baddest platform for dispositioning properties and deals all over the U.S. And I had the pleasure of meeting him and his beautiful wife in Tulum, Mexico.
Yes, sir.
At a great deal that Robert and Eliza and Dimitri put together for all of us. And, man, thank you so much for coming in, Viktor. I appreciate you.
Heck yeah.
It was very short notice, but here we are.
Yeah, man, absolutely glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, thank you for showing me your battle room. That was awesome to see. I mean, our operation is 100% virtual, right?
Wow.
So we don't have an office like this.
I can't do the virtual stuff. I tried, dude. I went. I would say a year. I went a year virtual, and what happened was we were getting deals, but a lot of leads were getting lost, and I just could never manage to make my guys get on those leads as soon as they popped up, right? Yeah. So at the time, we just decided to get an office, and we didn't have this office. We have a smaller office on the same floor, but on the other side, and we outgrew it in like 2 months, and our productivity started growing, faster. So I'm an office guy. I can't work from home. Yeah. I got little kids. My wife, they start, asking questions. Daddy, when is this? When is that? Do you want some lunch? And you're in the middle. You're in the zone, right? And so one day I just decided I got to go back to an office. I've always been an office guy, although I try to do as much as I could against being like a corporate guy. But really, what do we have? We have a corporation. So, now we have 2 offices. So go figure.
Well, I mean, with our operation, so the way we are set up is we work throughout the world. No joke. Like, my dispo people are not even in the U.S.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's crazy. So for us, it's almost a necessity that we're virtual. I mean, we get some amazing talent that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. I mean, and we pay them very well according to their wages, and they just love working for us.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there is definitely a challenge of saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to get a lead, we got to answer that lead within 5 minutes, and that's something we're still struggling with, trying to work through. But overall, I think
we all do, man. It's an industry sickness. I'm gonna put it to you that way. I'm on I have a texting platform, right? And a lot of my friends are on my texting platform. And I see their leads coming in. And last night, I'm sitting, and this is one of the top guys, and that lead is just hibernating in there. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I wonder how long it's going to take him to get on that lead. And he has a team that, and I'm not going to mention no names, but he has a team that's in his office. So they should have literally grabbed that lead and jump on it. They never did. They did the next day. So I'm like, I wonder why it took him so long. So I'm going to pick up the phone and ask him, hey, man, why did it take you so long to get on that lead? Because I understand if it takes us 30 minutes. Maybe my guys are on the phone at the time, and that lead can sit in there for 30 minutes easily. But then they're going to pick up on the lead and call, right? Well, his lead didn't get attended that day. So there was some miscommunication in between whoever is supposed to pick up that lead, whether it's a lead manager or an acquisitions, because I really don't know his process internally. But it is an industry sickness because we all suffer from it one way or another. At one point, somebody's going to drop a lead. And that's why, that's what I'm trying to I really don't want that to happen. Like, because leads are expensive, and
Oh man, are they ever? Yeah, are they ever?
and your one lead, right? That might be a $40,000-$50,000 assignment, So that's how I see my leads. It's like, man, you dropped a lead, you just dropped a big assignment. I don't care how big or small it still pays the bills. But anyhow, let's take back to who you are, Victor.
Yeah.
This podcast is more about who you are, as opposed to like, show me how big your checks are, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, where are you originally from?
Yeah, so I came here when I was 6 years old from Ukraine. So
Okay.
that's my backstory. I am an immigrant. So
am I, by the way.
So-
So
No
we're
way.
both immigrants.
I
How
couldn't
about
tell.
that? Well, I was born here, believe it or not, but I still consider myself an immigrant
Oh,
because my parents are immigrants, and I was born and they took me back when I was like 9 months. So I didn't grow up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 6 when I came to America, and that was really an interesting time when I got here, because that's when the Soviet Union fell, right? That's when Ukraine became its own nation. So we had some sovereignty in Ukraine, but there still was tons of religious persecution. That's why we're here. So my parents came on the religious background, and it was definitely an interesting transition to come into a country. But I mean, I'm so glad that I'm here. I mean, America, I will be patriotic till the day I die. I mean, I have so much more opportunity than I've had, in Ukraine. There's so many things that you don't have in that country that you have here. So, I came here when I was 6 years old. I grew up on Section 8, right? I mean, I had to be on welfare. I actually know what food stamps look like. They're literally food stamps, right? So you actually have a little flip book that you use. We traded food stamps for actual money.
Okay.
We had to make ends meet, right? We had to
Pay
exchange
rent.
it with people, and So that was my life in the early stages. My dad was in construction, and so I understood that side of the business, but we never quote unquote made it because I had 5 brothers and 1 sister, right? I grew up pretty humble.
Just 7 of you guys.
7 of us, yeah.
Oh.
And never really had, what I would say is like the American dream. I mean, my parents did the best they could.
Yeah.
I mean, with what they had. So, long story short, I went to college, got my degree in nursing, and I was like, you know what? I need to do something with this degree. So I thought I was going to become a doctor, a nurse practitioner. So I went that route, and it just didn't jive with me. There was a lot of things that worked and a lot of things that didn't work. I mean, nursing is a really rewarding career. Don't get me wrong. Love nursing. If people want to, have something in their life that they're excited about, passionate about, and make a difference, do that, right? You're saving lives. I mean, I've saved so many lives I've lost count.
Wow.
I've impacted. I've actually met patients that were like 5, 6 years old, and then I come across them in like a grocery store. I'm like, wait a minute, I know you. And then that the stories exchanged, the parents recognize me. So literally 3 months ago, I met a dad that I helped his kid through diabetes. He was diagnosed, and they were just devastated, right? So you have those kinds of conversations. So it's very impactful. But for me, I'm an entrepreneur, right? That's my vision and passion is that. That's what I want to do. So I was like, okay, how do I make this work, right? How do I quote unquote, make more money? And so I Googled, how to make more money. And
Okay.
guess what popped up?
Wholesaling,
real estate, right?
or real estate.
Yeah, real estate. So that was on the radar. And I was like, okay, I got to try this out. So I went to that route, and here I am working seriously, sometimes 8 days in a row of like 12-hour shifts at the hospital. And then after those shifts, and we're talking like 12-hour shifts, I come home, go on the phones, and meet with sellers, go on appointments, sleep for like 3-4 hours, go to the gym, repeat the whole cycle, working night shift. And I did that for like 2 years. And that's how I got into real estate, doing it that way. That was definitely, an experience that I would not regret. I just don't regret that because it taught me the value of like hard work. Because during that time, I wasn't necessarily in the right headspace. Because like I still, I don't know if anybody watches TV or plays video games, but I would have that as a hobby. I don't do that anymore. You know,
Right.
I mean, no offense to anybody that still does it, but
Yeah.
I just don't have the time for it. So one of the concerns was like, okay, well, you know, am I gonna, you know, watch TV or play video games? Well, that went away real quick. When you want something so bad and you want to work so hard for it, you just don't have time for it.
Absolutely. I agree
So
with you.
I did that, and finally, you know, after so many appointments, spending like $6,000 in marketing, I got my first deal. I made $13,500,
Wow.
and that check alone, it showed my wife the proof. I was like, "Hey, honey, there's something to this." She was like, "Okay, I understand where you're going with this now." So we took that money, 100% invested every single penny into the business. I did not keep any of it, and so I did a deal. My business partner today did a deal, and we're like, you know, this is working. And so the way we met was through RIA. And so how we kind of got to know each other was, you know, it was a mastermind RIA. We got together and we're like, hey, we're doing the same marketing. We're hitting the same people. Let's just keep in contact with one another to see how you're doing, how I'm doing, keep each other accountable.
Right.
So we did that for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months. And then after, you know, him doing a deal, me doing a deal, we're like, okay, let's see if we can actually partner together and, you know, do this. What's the point of hitting the same areas and sellers if we could do this together? So we did. You know, we created a partnership, and after that, you know, the rest is history. You know, ups and downs. You know, and definitely some lean months for sure. There's definitely a point that I almost went out of business, and that was tough. Yeah, that was very tough. So during that time, my business partner's living in Hawaii. I'm living here in Washington State, and I'm like, bro, we got to make this happen. If this doesn't happen, we're out of business. We only got 2 months of cash in the bank. That's it, you know. And so he sees the writing on the wall. You know, he grabs pretty much the next flight over back to Washington State. Starts to live here in this area, and right after that, it was just like supernatural. Because at that time we were just doing SEO, Facebook, and
SEO takes
Google.
too long.
Yeah. I love SEO now. Trust me, I
No,
love SEO now.
right now, it once you get it going
Yeah.
after a year, yeah, of course, now it's organically bringing you leads, right?
Yeah.
But when you're getting started, you just see money go out,
You do.
go out.
But that's what it was for, 2.5 years. It was like writing that check. It's like, oh man, where am I going to see these returns?
Yeah.
So that was definitely a hard time for SEO, because
Right.
I see the fruits of it now. I get like a 14x return
Wow.
on my SEO. It's incredible. But that time it was like a negative return, right? So yeah, I mean, so we went through those lean months, right? We made it work, and in those 3 months, I made the most money that I'd ever made ever. I made $350,000 in a matter of 3 months.
Wow.
That, for me, that time was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
especially coming from not making money at all, or
Yeah.
or almost shutting the operation down because you don't know if this is gonna work or not, right?
Right.
And then you get a break like that, you're like, okay, maybe I was wrong, you know.
Exactly. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Thank God I was wrong. But I mean, like, supernatural. I could not explain it. I went even to the data that just like 2 months ago of like, what happened? What did I do to make those results happen? So there was, I think, really 3 things that I could really point out. The first thing is, like we were talking about, answering leads. So we were just pretty much focused on Google during that time. And so with Google, you have to be like Johnny on the spot. If you're not,
Yeah.
they're
The next
out,
guy
right?
is picking it up.
Yeah, and so we had a reputation during that time of like, they didn't even fill out the form yet, the second step form, and we already were on the phone with them. So like we were.
Wow, that was
quick.
fast.
Yeah, so we would answer leads like within 2-3 minutes. So because of that, we got some major whales of deals. So that was awesome. Going to in-person appointments during that time was phenomenal. Right, with the rapport building, the talking, the personal relationships, that was amazing, and just really just doing what you were doing. Like for us, it was Facebook and SEO, right? Doing that, just continue. So I think those 3 things were it. But as a matter of like exactly what caused those leads to come in, supernatural. Gonna just say that. I mean, we just got lucky. I say I'm blessed. I don't necessarily believe in luck. I mean, the more you do things, the luckier you are, right? And that really propelled us. That really propelled us to do what we're doing now. Or like last month, we made $430,000 in wholesaling. That was our biggest month ever, right? But we're not there yet, right? We're that's only a halfway point. We're after the $1 million per month. Right? That's where we're going. So that was a great affirmation for us to do that. But to see us to start like literally 2 months of cash in the bank, and saying that what a big deal to make $350,000 in 3 months. Now I'm making that in a month.
Right.
So our
now
journey,
can you believe that? What was your annual salary when you were a nurse?
Oh man, that's right. And then when I got that check, my wife and I were like, how many months would have taken us to make that money? Like 4 months. I would have had to work at the hospital 4 months just to make one check like that, right? So my annual salary at the time was, I think, 70 or 75. So not bad. But
no, it was good. So, but I was in corporate too, and I was in the oil and gas business. Now I used to make $260,000 a year, and I worked from home. Like, look, I had a golden handcuffs. Like these things were easy, very hard to let go. Okay, and if you told me that I would make that in a month, I look at you like you had two heads, like. Because I knew how hard it was for me to get there in the corporate world. And, I had to go offshore and all these rigs because I was in the oil and gas business. And if you told me today, hey, you can make 300, 400 grand, yeah, we've done that before, right? So it's a complete paradigm shift that, you know what, it is possible to make a lot of money in this business in 1 month. It's just that you have to take all the steps. You have to go through the ups and downs. Hiring, firing, training, trying your SEO that doesn't work for 2 years, and then now all of a sudden all the leads organically, they start showing up. Having your team ready for when those leads show up, that's another one. Yeah. Because one of the main reasons why I was telling you before the podcast, our last month sucked, was so everything we do in our business, at least ours, it impacts the next 90 days. So whatever I do today, I'm going to see the results in 90 days. Yeah. So I'm working for January right now. I'm not really working for October, for November or December. Right. It's literally January, what I'm planting seeds for right now, right? Well, what happens to us in October is if I go 3 months back, I had all acquisitions were brand new because we were opening up the office in Miami. So those guys were dropping leads. They weren't talking to the leads the right way. And I'm real good at not getting stressed out when they don't perform when they're new. Because it's part of the business. It's like there's a brand new baby learning how to talk on the phone and how to create rapport. And maybe they already have that built in, but they don't know the real estate side yet, right? And that's why we pay the price in October. We only closed like in a couple of deals, and they weren't even big deals. But now November, December, January looks much, much better because it took them just a couple of weeks to get kind of like, acquainted with the way we do business, and now they're locking up deals left and right. And they're doing their own deals because that's something we do inside is I let all my guys do their own deals. There's no caps in our team. They can do their own deals. They can do their own marketing. As long as they put their own marketing money, dollars into it, then they have to funnel the deals through the whole. That's why we have the wholesaling cartel. So nobody can come to our operation and say, I cannot make more than X amount of dollars. Because literally everybody can be me. Like, hey, I'm a risk taker. You want to make more money, you become a risk taker as well. Yeah. But do it in a controlled environment. We'll help you with the marketing and all that. So, so that's why I ask you about the annual salaries because, you make $75,000 a year as a nurse, saving lives, right? Which is very fulfilling too. Like a lot of nurses, they do that because they love it.
Oh yeah.
They don't necessarily do it because of the money, because they work their ass off. Like they're doing 12-hour shifts, 4 days in a row, sometimes 5 days if they're working like an extra day or whatnot, and it's for the love of what they do, right? Now for you, that wasn't enough to fulfill you. You had to go become an entrepreneur, and now you can make in a week what you used to make in a year, which is insane for the regular person out there watching this podcast. Like, how can you make in a week what you used to make in a year, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, you have to go. Something you pointed out that absolutely takes precedent. It's the risk taking. If you do not take risk, there's no then opportunity, right? You have to put yourself in that position to win, but winning requires risk. So when I did that, made that 13,000, I looked at my behaviors that I put myself in to make it happen, right? I put the marketing in, I worked the long hours. There was no guarantee. There was no guarantee that this is going to work, but you have to do that. And so I now look at it nowadays is, I think sometimes people say, oh man, you make a lot of money. Do you deserve that money? You better believe that I do. I mean, did you not see how much money I put into marketing?
And the struggles, right? When you struggles, when things didn't go right.
Right. You have to write that check every month for marketing. I mean, I know you're crushing it. You don't have to put that much marketing dollars in. I do. I mean, I put in on average, we're putting between $60,000 to $80,000 a month. Right?
I get it. Yeah. So that's something that people don't understand. Okay, you made $400,000. They think you took $400,000 to the bank, like right. or to the beach. No, you had $80,000 worth of PPC or SEO or whatever, Facebook ads and all of these things. Then you had overhead, right? Then you had, do you still clear a lot of money out of it? Yes, you do. But you probably won't keep maybe 20% or 30% of it if you keep that much. Because I just pay myself what I need to pay bills. That's it. I'm probably the lowest paid guy in my own operation. I need rent. I need my truck payment. I need, food. That's it, man. I don't need to have my bank account stashed up or anything like that to fill my ego. I reinvest in the business, right? Yeah. And not only in the wholesaling operation, but in all the other things that I'm doing. So, eventually that will snowball and start paying back in dividends big time.
But it does. So for the first 3 years that I did the wholesaling business, I did not take one dime from the business. I'm not kidding you. So I did my W-2 and I did my business. And
I'm loving that you're touching that. By the way, guys, you don't have to quit your fucking job. Okay? You don't. You can do this while you have a job, okay, like Viktor did. I love this, Viktor, because, a lot of people think, I got to quit my job. They make one check, and now they got to quit their job. No, man, do a few checks. Maybe get some rental properties, get some cash flow. Well, when you have a W-2, the banks love you. When you don't have a W-2, they don't like you as much. Now, today they like you because today the money is almost free. So it's crazy.
I know what you mean.
So today is like banks are like, take it. But when I was like in 2017, man, I had to hustle for banks to do my refis on my rentals and stuff like that. And I was paying 7% interest rate on long-term loans. But anyhow, guys, listen to Viktor. How long did you go with a job and a side hustle?
Yeah, it was 3 years.
3 years. 3 years with a job as a nurse, working 12-hour shifts. That was a major transformation for you, too, because you gave up on TV, you gave up on video games. You were married already, right?
Yep.
And then you had to take care of your family, and I'm like you, I don't watch TV. Like, you ask me about some Netflix show or something like that.
People are binge, what is it, Squid Games or something?
Yeah, I did that.
I'm like, what is that?
It took me 3 months to watch it. It's only 7 or 8 episodes, but it took me like 3 months because I would get home very late, and that's another thing. I can't watch that thing when my kids are around, because there's a lot of blood and stuff like that. So I will get there, I'll turn on the TV, and I watch maybe 20 minutes of it, and then I just fall asleep. And so I pick it up the next day. So it took me like 3 months to watch it. I just finished it 2 nights ago, actually. But it's changing your habits, right? So you had a full-time job, 12-hour days. Stressful because were you in the ER or?
Well, I was in different departments. I was in the respiratory unit, and I was also in the CICU. So I would watch kids' chests. It was the craziest thing ever. Their chest would be open, and they couldn't close the chest because of the inflammation. So they would put a film on top of the chest. You could see the heartbeat.
Wow, dude. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was crazy. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did that.
So you've seen a lot of
I've
crazy
seen
stuff, right?
crazy things. Yeah.
Which, well, for you as a nurse, it might not be crazy because you get used to that stuff. But if I see it, I'm not a nurse. I'm like, oh my God, what is that, right? So you do that 12-hour shifts, watching kids literally with their chest open. Then you go home to get on the phone or to go on seller appointments, lock up deals, sell deals, go to the RIA, meet with new people, meet your business partner, right? And start building a relationship like that. Then building a virtual team, because you never had an office, you said, right? It's always been virtual.
Yep.
So you figured a way out to crack the virtual code. So it is possible to do this virtually. He's doing it. I'm more of an office kind of guy. I like it. But, at the end of the day, he did everything he could on his power to make this work for him. And eventually he stepped away from his job. Once he saw that, you know what? Oh, and your wife was working too, right?
Yeah.
So, he had a lot of support within his income and his wife's income. But he still found a reason to do this after hours. It could have been very easily for you to quit. For you, it would have been very easy to quit.
So the thing is, it's not about not wanting to quit. I had so many opportunities to quit, and I had the feeling of wanting to quit so many times. I could not count how many times I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
But because I went through the burnt out feeling and I stick through it, like that muscle of grit just grew and grew and grew. And now today,
I know exactly what you're talking about, dude.
Yeah.
Because I've been there before.
Yeah.
So I can relate, and guys, there's no excuses on why you wouldn't do this. If you really wanted to do this like Viktor did, okay? I had no choice because I got laid off. So for me, it was like, what do I do now? Like, and for me, getting a job in 2015, there was no jobs, literally, and especially that paid as much as I made. So I had to literally pivot and do real estate full time because I had to, not because I really wanted to, But I've been doing real estate for a long time as a passive deal. So I was like you. I was in between 2008 and 2015. It was a side hustle for me. Now I didn't wholesale. I just accumulated rentals and I did flips and things like that because I could get out of my office and go look at a flip or whatnot. And it was easier for me to get flips than it would be to do a wholesale deal. I used to be a wholesaler hater, dude. I didn't like wholesalers. I'll be like, you're a wholesaler? Ooh, you don't know your numbers. You're always sending shitty deals. All the profits staying on your side, not on my side. But I understood later on why wholesalers make what they make. This is not easy. People think this is easy. It's simple.
I love how they say, get into real estate by wholesaling. Oh man, that's tough.
Well,
it's hard. It's a hard business.
Wholesaling is tough.
It's an easy concept, hard to do.
So I put it this way. I say that wholesaling is simple.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
Yes.
Because the mechanics of wholesaling is simple. You find a motivated seller, you put the property under contract, you solve whatever challenge that seller has, and then you find a motivated buyer, and you flip the contract to the motivated buyer. By the way, guys, when you're wholesaling, you are not flipping a property. You are flipping a piece of paper.
Yep.
Okay?
You do not control any real estate. Zero.
You're flipping a piece of paper. That's it.
Yep.
Right? That is attached to the property. So you find a motivated buyer. Motivated buyer buys the contract from you, and that's how you make a profit. People think that you're flipping the house, actually, not fixing it up, but you're reselling it one way or another. No, what you're doing is the paperwork. That's it. So, once I understood that these guys had to put a lot of marketing, back then was bandit signs. That's what they did. Most of them did, and mailers. And then when I started doing it to get my own leads, I would put $5,000, $6,000 and get nothing back. And I was like, man, now I understand why these assignments are so big. Because you got to get that marketing money back one way or another, right? So, yeah, wholesaling is not easy. It's simple because the mechanics are very simple. But doing that mechanics gets very complicated sometimes, money-wise, especially when you're getting started.
Yeah, they don't see the overhead. They don't see the marketing expense. They only see the assignment fee.
I had a guy one time question my assignment, right? And I said, man, why don't you come to the office next week and let's talk about this assignment? Because he bought enough time to close. I said, just come to the office so we can talk about this assignment. And if you are right, I'll give you the discount that you're asking. If I'm right, then you let it go. And he said, fair enough. And he took it. And he came over. And I said, look, man, I pay X amount of dollars for this office. This guy makes amount of dollars. This guy makes amount of dollars. This boom, 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 boom. This is my marketing budget. Now, do you really think I'm making all that money that you're seeing on the HUD? And he's like, no, you're not. And I was like, okay. Is that a good deal for you? Yes, it's a good deal for me. So are you going to continue to question my assignment? I'll never continue question an assignment ever again.
That's a good story.
I said, fair enough, man. Let's go do business. Let's dance. Yeah, I call it let's dance. If you like it and I like it, let's go dancing and we'll make money together, right? But most people that are getting into real estate that are either becoming landlords or becoming flippers, they see those assignments and they're like, oh, the wholesaler is getting rich. Yeah, they hear stories like yours or maybe like many of the other of the friends that we have that make $400,000 in a month. Yeah, but out of the $400,000, how much of it went to expenses and overhead and headaches? Plus, a lot of the money you're getting it back from past investments that you did, that marketing campaigns that didn't pay out. How many times did you put dollars in and you couldn't get anything back out?
Well, funny you should say that. I went with this company. I'm not going to name the company, but they were like, oh, you got to do no marketing. I'm like, okay, let's do it, right? They came with a good reputation. They came recommended. So we're like, okay, we're going to do it. Not one deal.
Wow.
Spent $75,000 on mail. Not one deal. I only produced finally that deal after 2.5 years from doing that mail marketing. So it was a follow-up that I did, right? And that's the risk, right? That's the risk. I mean, is it because maybe your mailing wasn't right? Maybe because your sales process wasn't right? Maybe your team's not answering the phone calls correctly?
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
There's a lot of variables into it. And so going back to that, putting gasoline on the fire, when I did 3 years of no payment to myself and I made it work, that's how you do it. If you want to accelerate your business, that's what you do, right? You invest in the business, like you were saying. I want to take my business and put money into it so that it can produce me a harvest, right? Don't eat the seed. Don't eat the seed. Plant the seed. And that's what I was doing. I was saying, you know what? I'm gonna be very lean, and I'm only gonna do what I need to do. I'm okay with my W-2 income. I'm gonna take whatever I make and put it into the business. That's what worked. I hired cold callers. I hired people that would intake leads. I invested in systems. I paid my team. They were making way more money than I was making. But that's how you do it. Then I finally took a salary for my business. It was minimum wage. So I took a minimum wage amount so that I could once again fuel the business. My business partner and I definitely had disagreements because he was like, man, here I'm coming from. So he's super smart. He went to MIT, got a master's in engineering. Right.
He's a wholesaler today.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's crazy.
Smart people like that, deserve a good salary. And he was paid very, very well at the Bone Company. That's where he worked. And then he got, from, a 6-figure salary to minimum wage. It was tough. It was definitely tough. But, now we're in a better position. But during that time, you had those tough conversations like, hey, man, let's not eat the seeds. Let's invest in the business, invest in marketing, invest in people. And that's where we are today because of that frugality, right? Invest into that. So that's one of my biggest gripes about some of the wholesalers is do not eat the seed that you produce. Invest that seed, put it in the right soil, make it grow.
I see it all the time, man. I see guys that are coming in the business and they collect a good check. The next thing I see is they're buying a Rolex or they're taking a trip to who knows where. And I'm like, man, it's okay that you want to indulge and celebrate your success, right, by doing some of those things. But those things can wait. They can wait a couple of years. That you don't have to go and do it right now to show the world how badass you are. you're better off putting that away, thinking about how you're going to invest that into marketing or systems or people so you can grow that way later on. You can do what you do, which is you step away, you go to masterminds, you go to these things, you know, and your team continues to run. I'm the same way. I'm leaving tomorrow for like 5 days, and guess what? The things will get done when I'm gone. I don't need to be here anymore. But, you know, these new guys that are trying to make 10 grand a month, right? Because that's what most of them are. Like, how can I make $10,000 a month? Many of them never made 5 grand a month. So now they're getting to $10,000 a month. They get those checks and they just go spend those checks as fast as they come. And then they find themselves in those ruts where like you had a few months that, man, you didn't know if you were going to make it, you know? Yeah. And like me, like, it's like, shit, you know, this thing is not working out. Like when I did mailers too. And I used to be the owner of the mailing company. So my cost was slower when it came to sending mailers. And 1 month I had to say, I was like, man, I don't believe in this mailing shit no more. And, you know, and I was like, and I own the mailing company, you know what I mean? And I'm like, what do I do with all this equipment now, right? And literally I stopped. And I couldn't sell the mailers anymore because I didn't even believe in them. Like, they work, don't get me wrong, but it's very expensive. And it's like a drip campaign that you have to continue to pump out. And every time you send 10,000 mailers, it's $7,000 going out of your pockets. And if you get one deal, well, that was the cost per acquisition. So your one deal that you did on that mailing campaign, that was a $70,000 cost per acquisition deal.
That's right. That's right.
And, you know, I don't even know how much money you made out of the deal, but let's say you made 20. Well, it really cost you 50.
Well,
you know?
I should have made 5. I should have made only 5.
5 grand.
Yeah, but I actually ended up making 30 on it.
Okay.
But the guy who got the property, he made a killing. He made like $120,000.
Wow. The flipper.
The flipper, right. He did the flip the right way. He saw in it what no one else did.
Right.
That's why he made so much money.
So that deal cost you $40,000 to get in reality because you made 30 back. You didn't even break even on the deal. No. And this is the things that nobody talks about. They go post the $30,000 check on Facebook. But I lost,
40.
Hey, this marketing campaign cost me 70, by the way, but here's my $30,000 check. And that's, guys, you guys got to vet whoever the hell your guru is, because that's what I see online all the time, right? This guy's posting checks. I say, okay, how much did that cost you to get, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people out there making money, real legitimate money. And I'm happy that you're doing so well now, and I can only see your operation getting bigger and bigger and bigger, especially going virtual, which is something we're doing right now for our disposition side. We're actually hiring sales people outside of the country, virtual.
Oh, you're doing that now?
Yes.
Okay, I know we talked about it. That's cool.
Yes.
Right on.
So we're doing that right now, and my dispo guys here are kind of like managing those dispo guys overseas, because we're keeping only 8 type players on the team internally, like in the office itself. So those guys should be able to manage some of those guys away from us, but we can multiply one good dispo manager to 2 or 3 of them. So we're trying a new, and that's another thing. We're always trying new things. Like, hey, what if I change this? Can we make, better spreads? And then those people are making a lot more money than they make in their countries if they got a real job. Like we have right now on our team, I have 27 VAs, right? Dude, I have doctors, I have attorneys, I have architects, I have accountants. They're all VAs. Yeah. They're all working on our company, and they're happy working with us. They make a lot more money than they could make in where they are, which is Venezuela, where I grew up. And we just keep finding more talent like that. And I'm like, every time I meet a new one, I'm like, what do you do? Well, I'm this. And I'm just like, oh, man, I'm so happy to have you here because we're surrounding our team with a bunch of professionals. And these people really care about their jobs. Like they really want to do a good job. They're providing not only for themselves, but for extended families around them. So I want to continue to grow that side on the virtual side, but I will continue with an office. Maybe in the future, we don't need a big office like the one we have right now. We'll probably go downsize to where, because I have to go to an office. Like if I don't go to an office, I'm lost. I can't. I don't function right.
I'm surprised that we're having this amount of success doing it 100% virtually. It's crazy. So our top 3 acquisitions are in Seattle, Renton, Idaho, and actually Texas.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So all virtual, right? Those closers are all virtual. And yet they're having the quality conversations. They're getting the contracts. Like yesterday night, we got 3 under contract, and I'm like, man, this is incredible. They're not meeting in person, yet they're building the trust of these homeowners to deliver. Right?
One thing we're doing to mimic the person thing is we do a Zoom call.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially with buyers. It's like, hey, get on Zoom. So we start talking, and we do Zoom calls with sellers. Like I did a Zoom call the other day with a guy that owns like a gazillion properties. Like this is one of those guys that got like, we text a lot. So we texted this particular town, and he's like, son, I got your text like 40 times. And I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, I said, hey, let's do a Zoom call. And the guy got on a Zoom call with me. Now, we didn't do a deal, but he knew we were legit.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what, man? I'm not selling right now, but I'm going to keep you close because out of everybody that contacted me about my properties, whether it was a mailer or a text message or a cold call, you're the only one that got on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And I was
so
like,
good.
whoa, Zoom exists. Like, why not? Like, now, if you're getting on a Zoom call, make sure you're shaved, and, you're decent.
Yeah.
Don't look like you just got off playing video games for the last 6 hours. Your hair is all messed up. But tell me something, man. What does your team look like today? Like, you told me 3 acquisitions nationwide, right? All over.
Yeah.
What else?
So the way it works is we have we do have virtual assistants and we call them the analyst team. So we have about 5 or 6 analysts on that end. So they're virtually throughout the whole world.
Right.
Then we have our we call them HBAs, home buyer associates. We have 5 of them, and they're in different parts of the world as well.
Right.
Egypt, in Colombia, and Venezuela. Let's see, Jamaica. Right. So 5 of those. Then we have 3 closers, and we have closers that are in U.S. They get paid the big bucks, right?
Right.
Real big bucks. Because they're performing.
Yeah, their job is to make sure they lock it up and
Exactly.
put an ink on it.
Then we have our dispo department, and in that department right now we have 3, but we just hired. Now we have 4, and we're trying to hire another one, so it'll be 5 total.
Okay.
And we just started our JV department, JV wholesale.
Right.
That thing's a beast.
Yeah,
So
we do a lot of those here.
Yeah, so we have a department just for that, and we're trying to grow that. In our market where we're at, we don't have anything like that. There's nothing out in the marketplace to help other wholesales place their
Right.
deals. So we have that, and that's going to be currently that's a one-man operation, but we're trying to grow. And then, of course, is my business partner, the HR department, and myself. And then on top of that, we're actually wanting to grow our long-term, our legacy wealth, which is rentals, which is short-term rentals.
Right now, you got to buy as many as you can.
Yeah.
Because money is just too cheap. Anything that comes across that looks like a rental, take it. And the financing is so easy nowadays. I mean, you literally need to have a pulse. When they tell me you got to have 520 credit score to get a loan, I'm like, who are these people loaning money to, So it's like, literally, it's like that. So just go ahead and put some away, man, because it'll change. It won't stay like that. And it goes from having it so good to where it goes to nobody can get along. Go back to you want to see the future, go back to the history, right?
Yeah.
What happened in 2007, 2006, if you breathe and you have $500 on your checking account, that was it, man. You're qualified. You're good. You can get a property. What happened in 2007, the bubble started to burst, and nobody could get along. Nobody. Like, dude, I got stuck with properties that I bought, because I started in 2008, that I was buying cash, and I couldn't refinance them out. The only way I could refinance them out was with a hard money loan. And the Harmony rates were at 16% at the time.
Dang.
Forget the 10s and the 6s and the 7s that you see today. It was 16%. So that was the only way I could cash out. And then trying to figure that out to go into a longer term rental, it was hard. So, and we still managed to put away a bunch of properties, you know? So today, there's no excuse. It's like, if you have decent credit, you have a little bit of money, and you got an LLC, they don't even look at, like, W-2s anymore. I had to show them W-2s. I mean, you know, it was a whole different ballgame. So, but that's what happens when you have it so easy. Eventually, it quits being easy, but it goes the opposite direction. Like, now it's impossible. And so this is a good time to put away properties if that's what you want to build your long-term legacy, right?
Yeah, we do, yeah. So we're just starting that now.
Right.
And, you know, I'm super excited about that. Actually, we're trying to have my wife quit her job from Boeing so she can make that happen. And her working at Boeing is now a choice. She's only doing that because she has the choice. I've allowed, you know, finally have allowed that opportunity to arise, right? One of my goals has been, I want to give her the option to work. If she wants to work, great. If she doesn't, she can have that too. So that's what we're trying to transition her into, is that role, so she can help, you know, generate that monthly cash flow. So
yeah, she needs. I did the math. I reversed engineered to some of my acquisitions guys, because they're kind of like independent. They're like for hire contract, you know, acquisitions guys. So they do their own thing. They do it with us, but they're like, hey, how do we put properties away? These are entrepreneurs that I'm attracting now to our team. And I was like, guys, simple. Each property usually is $350 to $500 a month in cash flow. Back then, when I started, it was $250. And if you had a $250, $100 a month cash flow, you were killing it. Mm-hmm. Today, the numbers are a little better because the money's cheaper. So the formula has never changed. 70% minus repairs, you're in. That's it. So I said, look, you guys, how much money you want for passive income? They said, we want 10 grand passive income within the next 12 months. And I said, that means you got to buy at least 25 properties, at least. And their eyes get big like that. And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, do the math. $400 or $500 times 25, how much is that? That's 10 grand, right? And okay, realistically, Ricardo, what do you see happening? I said, I see that happening in 2 years. You put 2 years, and what happens is the first few months, you do very little deals. Like you do maybe 3, 4, 5 deals that you buy, you rehab, and then you rent. But once you get a hold of it, now you can do multiple ones at the same time. You can do 2, 3, 4, and then you get to your 25 deals per person. In between both of you guys, you can do 50 in 2 years, and that will give you, each one of you, $10,000 a month in passive income. Now, if you go the Airbnb route, you don't need that many. The thing is, I still don't think Airbnb it has enough track record yet to where you can say, if I get 5 Airbnbs, I'm gonna collect $5 grand. You know, like usually a lot of my friends that have Airbnbs, and I have one too, they're collecting about $1,000 per property on average a year. I mean, a month. You know, if you divide it per year, sometimes they make a lot more. But I haven't seen enough track record to where you can say, well, we've been Airbnb for the last 5 years, and this is kind of like what the revenue is for one property. But in the reality is, you can get 3x the amount of rent that you can if the house was an Airbnb. So
yeah. Well, with the Airbnb model, I've done it in the past, and I was like, why am I doing rentals?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So there's definitely said to be. There's both advantages and disadvantages of both strategies.
Right.
With the rentals, it's like steady as she goes, right?
That's it.
It's definitely recession proof, right? You need housing in both recession and the upside, right? Yep. So you're definitely capitalizing on that regardless. With the short-term rentals, it's definitely riskier because you're actually riding a wave. You are riding a wave. When the economy goes, guess what's going to go first?
But the good thing is, you can rent it. To me, that's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, Airbnb didn't work out because something happened. Put it for long-term rental. That's it. You know.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you mitigate your risk. But with the short-term rental, what I like about that is, like you said, you don't have to have that many properties in order to
get the same amount of money.
You could also do what's called a rental arbitrage.
Yes.
Don't even own the property.
Right.
You can agree with the person who actually owns the property. Say, hey, look, I'm going to Airbnb this thing. Actually, I could pay you more than you would otherwise get.
Yeah.
So increase their rent, and then you can say, I'd like to make this property a 2-year lease.
Right.
You as a landlord, would you want a 2-year lease or a 1-year lease?
Oh,
right?
take a 2-year lease all day long.
No higher turnover. So you can structure it that way as well. But what I like about it is the cash flow. If you look at the exact same property, right, you can cash flow way more on a short-term rental than you do with just a regular rental. So that's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to target the luxury, mid-luxury. We're not trying to do the starter homes to be Airbnb, right? That model doesn't really work, because then, yes, you're getting less cash flow, and it's not as desirable to rent them out. So we're trying to do more the higher end homes,
right?
Like $600,000 and plus $1,000. So we're wanting to stage them.
Yeah, those bring a lot of money,
sure
man.
Cash flowing. We're trying to target between like $3,000 to $5,000 a month, just cash flow.
Yeah, they bring a lot of money.
Yeah.
They bring a lot of money.
So that's why
it's a higher risk, right?
Absolutely.
Because if that property goes dark for a month, it doesn't rent, then guess what? You got a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 rent payment, and that hurts. But the reality is that the upside, you can 3x that rent money, so you can make $15,000 in one property easily. I don't say easily, because it's not easy to take on that risk for the average person, right? Yeah. For you, it's okay, because you have multiple streams of income now, so you can take the hit and not be hurt. A lot of people will take that hit and that's it. They're done. They're like, Airbnb doesn't work. Real estate is a lie, and this and that, right? Because they took more risk than they were supposed to. But you're right. I have a friend here, actually, that George Salas. You're attending his mastermind. Shout out to George Salas. He's got an Airbnb with another friend of mine whose name is AC. And he's a wholesaler and also educator here in the Houston area. And they have this one Airbnb. It's a luxury one. That thing is a money-making machine. Like, he showed me numbers one day. I was like, dude, how many of those can you do? Right? And he's like, oh, man, that's exactly what we're looking for now. Like, we're looking for these type of properties they're building. That he showed me another one. Actually, he didn't show it to me. I saw it on Facebook. He had a patio with some pergolas, and it was like a whole zen, Then they did that. They did those improvements, right? Yeah. To create an experience for the people staying in those properties. So they're doing very well. I'm so happy for George and also AC that and for you now that you're connected with George and you're attending his mastermind. So you're definitely in the right hands when it comes to learning this Airbnb game, man. But man, thank you so much for stopping in, Victor. It's been a pleasure. Guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Real Estate Entrepreneurs Event and Mastermind coming up in May 2022. We already picked up a month. I'm shuffling the dates a little bit. It's going to be the Formula One week or the week after in Miami, Florida. I'm looking forward to see you there. And don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. It's too early for me, man, and I'm stuttering here. So see you later, guys. Bye.